gentlemen, the play is the thing with your hostess, Judy Sleed, special guest artist, Stephen Zaluski. Now here is Judy, Judy, Judy.
Thank you for this wonderful introduction. And I want to thank Steve for coming on my show.
You're welcome.
So good of you to bring not only yourself, but all these wonderful art that you do. As I said, I never had anybody on my show with such beautiful art.
Well, thanks.
And looking at these things, I don't even know what to ask you first. I have so many questions. This thing, what do you call this?
This is a brand new sculpture. I finished it about 2 weeks ago. It's called Silver Curvation. It's an abstract design, but to me they're kind of reminiscent of plant life or animal shapes. And
I was thinking of my shape.
it's kind of a dragon too. And I like the way I experimented with the texture on this one to give it real depth. And the first time I ever did a piece like this, and I really liked it. The sphere is bronze, and it represents the planets and the sun and our solar system and our journey through it.
Very imaginative, yes. And how long did it take you to put this together?
Well, it took me basically 50 years to think of it and 3 weeks to make it.
Only 3 weeks. That I thought it would take months to do something like this.
Well, maybe I've had so much experience, I know how to do things efficiently. And I do mostly computer work in the morning and designing, and I spend the afternoons and early evenings in my studio actually creating what I design.
Oh, I see. So you have something in your head, and then you put it on like paper or computer, and then you proceed to into
Yeah, I
art
usually
like that.
draw shapes and I refine them till I love them. Then I draw it on the metal, and I cut out 2 sides, this side and this side at the same time, so they're similar. And then I curve them into a shape, separate them by brackets, and then fill on the sides with templates. It's a very intriguing method. It took me years to figure out. And then I weld it with a MIG welder with electricity. So it's like zzz. And then I grind off all the lumps and make it perfect as I possibly can.
Well, like you said, it took you years to perfect it, that you've been doing this for many years. When did you start making sculpture?
I started when I was doing TV commercials in the city in the late 70s, just using leftover wood and making abstract shapes. And then I was doing some contracting in the Hamptons, putting siding on beach homes, and I took the leftover cedar siding and laminated them like 8 layers thick into big abstract shapes like this, but out of wood. So, and I started showing them in West Hampton Beach at the Reneth Gallery, and they were selling. So I was like, hey, this is great. So I met a friend I knew from Stony Brook. He was having a sculpture painted in my neighborhood, and I noticed it, so I stopped in, and we reconnected, and we shared studio space for probably 12 years. His name was Stephen Solomon. Now he's an art teacher in West Hampton. But he did a lot of big sculptures too, and I have big sculptures around the world as far as Hong Kong and Europe and Canada, the Caribbean, all across America. So I get to travel a bit and go surfing and have adventures. And really enjoy a good life, and I play a lot of music with my friends. And
Where are you from?
I'm from the Babylon area.
You were born and raised there? You went to school?
That's right. And then I went to Stony Brook University. I had a scholarship for engineering. And basically I took, calculus and engineering and physics and chemistry for years, and I grew tired of it. It wasn't keeping my interest. So I joined the experimental college at Stony Brook, and it was mostly artists and music people who dropped out of like pre-med, pre-law, and they wanted to go mostly into music. So I started playing the guitar with my roommate, and that's where my musical things started. I bought a harmonica after seeing Paul Butterfield's band at Stony Brook, probably in like 68, 69. I said, wow, that's cool. So I've been playing the harmonica pretty much ever since. I play with some jazz bands and blues bands.
You do that in between creating these beautiful art?
That's what I do in the evenings.
In the
Art
evening.
in the day and music in the
And can
evening.
you tell us about that one over there, if you could have a close-up?
This one is called Trinity. It's from my Human Sphere series, because the sphere is made of people.
Yes.
And it represents the world working together in harmony and
that's
cooperation,
wonderful. Yes.
collaboration. And the world is supported by the Trinity of the three women, holding up the world, because without the
Yes.
girls, we are nothing. And this one is bronze. It's an original. I hand cut out each piece by my hand, but with a saber saw. Labor intensive, and then welded them together with electricity again. I can change the wire in my gun from aluminum to stainless steel or to bronze. So this is welded bronze from sheets of metal from a giant factory in Brooklyn.
Oh.
And I patina it with a torch, and I get the metal real hot, and I mix a chemical with water and have a paintbrush. So once the metal gets hot, I dab it, and it goes tss, tss, and it starts to turn the golden metal into brown and then black, and then slowly but surely you can bring the green up to make it look really old. And it's like, it takes a long time to get the green to come up. It's a labor of love. But
So
I love the way it looks.
How long did that take you to make that, would you say?
This piece took a little over a week and a half.
A little over a week. And where did you learn the method, how to do this?
I learned from Stephen Solomon. I took one welding metal sculpture class in college at Stony Brook with James Klieg, and they had primitive tools. They were like a stick welder and things, so I made some primitive pieces, and kind of lost my interest in it for that time period. And then I was doing woodworking. I got out of school and started a contracting business where I did carpentry and painting, and met some people on Fire Island that had connections with production companies in New York City. So I got to build props and sets for TV commercials for years during the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s. And that was fun. I had a good time. And I got to build giant staplers for props, and like the piano keys they were walking on during the Sergio Valenti commercials back in when they were doing all the designer jeans back then. We did the Anison commercials, and did commercials for Suntory whiskey on the rooftops in Manhattan with Jimmy Connors playing tennis on the rooftop. So that way they could see the Empire State Building and the Chrysler Building in the shot. And that's what the whiskey company was paying for. So we had fun doing all that. And eventually I started doing sculptures on the side, and I moved into Steve Solomon's studio and paid him a little rent, and I learned the business. He had a lot of big clients, Spectre Group, and who were building the new office buildings on Long Island, and he recommended me to Bob Feldman to do the Parkway Plaza in Westbury. I got the job to do the big Ring of Power sculpture. That's where the Barnes & Noble World Headquarters is.
Amazing. It's amazing. Anybody in your family, like your mother and father, were talented like this, that you
Well, I got
inherited
started
this?
in Dad's basement. He had a woodwork shop.
Oh,
He made duck decoys, and he was a duck hunter. Him and his friends were the field and stream guys that, where they hunt and fished and enjoyed the good life on Long Island. We always had a boat, and I learned how to fish and go water skiing, and then later surfing. So I learned some woodworking skills from Dad, and my mom would do oil paintings and watercolors and play piano and guitar, and she would sing.
So that's where you're getting it from.
So then my siblings, my older brother was a photographer for a while in Manhattan, and my younger brother and sister are twins. My younger brother did poetry too. He's done poetry readings in Manhattan. And my younger sister was a casting director in Hollywood. And so we're all kind of artistic in our way. And
yeah, I could see that.
I really pursued it, because I'm relentless and very stubborn.
So they are not in that field anymore because you kept
Joanne
talking
retired. My brother
past.
does accounting, and my younger brother is now a librarian. So he works with people and books.
Mm-hmm. So you started to, and there's another beautiful artwork here, this red one.
Yeah, that one I call Celebration. It's me, I'm the happy dancer, jumping around, having fun, trying to liven up the party and jazz up life.
It does look like a happy dancer, yes.
And I love the candy apple red paint. So you can see the metal where it comes through. I love that process.
Did you actually paint this with paint?
It's actually powder that goes sprayed on after the metal comes out of an oven. And it sticks to the metal, goes back in the oven, and it liquefies and hardens, fuses with the metal.
These are all the tricks of the trade.
It's a beautiful process. And it comes in like purple and blue, green, and gold.
But it's so smooth. You said you put powder on it, and it doesn't clump up in one place. Is there a special way of putting the powder?
They use electricity. They spray it with a gun with electricity, and it goes, sticks to it. It's cool.
Do you give lessons to people?
Not really. I've trained assistants, people who I need to help me. So I teach them whatever job I need to do. I have a lot of, my assistant Tim Smith helps me with music, he helps me with the video and the editing and the presentations for my public art commissions.
You're talking about so many things. You're talking about music and videos. That's two different things. So let's find out what do you do for music? You said you play the harmonica, and do you compose music or you just play it?
I don't play other people's songs. Basically, I have no memory for memorization. So whatever the band is playing, I add solos to. I just listen to what's going on, whether it's blues or jazz or rock.
So you pick it up right away?
I just know what to do. And I've been playing long enough, I can finally figure out how to make it sound right. That's the hard part.
So you belong to a band?
Yes, our band is called the Clam Digging Fools. We were doing a little performance in Miami Beach, and I had my big sphere that I roll around in at the art fairs like Art Hamptons and the Hayground Show in Bridgehampton, and Art Toronto and Miami and Art Expo New York City. And these women came up and said, "Oh, what's the name of your band?" I said, "Well, we're just a couple old clam digging fools." And the name stuck. So
I like that. It's very
I love to dig
original.
clams.
People
and,
will remember that.
I love seafood, and my friend Robert and I go boating, and we gather crabs, blue claw crabs, and clams, and sometimes oysters, some fish, and Long Island's such a great place. I love it here.
Yeah, me too. I love it here. So what about the video? What do you do with the video?
Well, Tim Smith makes our band videos where he does kind of like abstract shots and shots inside his studio of all different things in his shop, where he works on his antique Broncos for his beach trucks. So he does all that, and my videos are concerning me doing performances with the sculpture, where I roll around and I play harmonica at the art fairs and interact with all the people. Now, I've met another fellow from out here named Ernst Lurker, who included me in the play art movement because my art is interactive and people can play with it. So I said, great, you know,
Very unique.
it's very satisfying for me. That's not all, because art is kind of a lonely, solitary thing most of the time. The music and the interactive sculpture involves me with many more other people, so I get to meet a lot of people. It makes life much more interesting.
It does. So you go to a lot of exhibits, you make
Yes.
a lot of exhibits. Like, what was the last one?
The last big one I was in was Art Market Hamptons in Bridgehampton. And before that was Art Toronto. And before that was Contemporary Art Fair in Manhattan.
And you have to schlep all this with you?
Yes, I do. I have a trailer for the big ball, and all the rest
Yeah.
of the pieces fit inside my van. And we take it on the road. I enjoy road trips. I've driven to Florida and California and
So when
Toronto.
it goes on exhibit, you have a price on them and people could buy it.
Yes,
Is that your objective, to sell it?
yes. I mean, my first objective is to create and to
Yes, of course.
basically to entertain myself. It's my challenge to myself to think of things that nobody ever saw before, and
Well,
to,
I
and to bring
believe
them
that.
to life.
Yes, yes.
And that's the challenge all artists face.
And
is-
how's the market for these?
It's getting better. It's like waves, like everything else in life. It's up and down. And right now, it's going through another resurgence. And things are good. I'm working on 5 different projects now.
People order things?
Yeah, I'm working on some projects for San Jose and for Alexandria, Virginia, and California. And I've just brought some pieces into the Trump building on the west side of Manhattan. And hooked up with a new huge company and a couple of other my art dealers over the years. 30 years of showing in art galleries, I have a lot of dealers. And now and then a job comes through for sculpture, and they recommend me. And life goes on, and it's good. But basically, I make things ahead of time, just to keep me going and keep my inventory up, so I always have pieces to do shows with.
And about making films, you mentioned, did you mention
For the,
that are you also a writer, or do you ever write anything?
I write about my art life for Fine Art Magazine, for Jamie and Victor Forbes. They've published my photos, they've published my writing, and I've helped them produce their videos. They have a video channel too. And I have Zaluski channel on YouTube, where I have 36 videos.
You're going to be on YouTube. This conversation will be uploaded to YouTube also.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Brings the world together.
It does. It does. Well, you're a very, very talented person.
Well, thank you. You know, I work at it. You know, nothing is given to you or comes to you. You have to really work at it and be very aggressive. And surfing has taught me that in order to ride waves, you have to be strong enough to paddle out there and work with Mother Nature, being in the right spot at the right time when the waves comes in, deal with the other people who are there.
Well, I'm so glad you're
And
talking about that.
It's so hard to do, to coordinate it all, to actually catch the wave at the right time, and to be aggressive and always go for it, and always be moving forward and react as the wave breaks. And the same thing, that's how I play music too. I just react to what I hear, how the band's cooking, and I just play solos on top of it. So to me, that's very exciting. It's like surfing.
So, and actually, you don't read music or anything.
No, I just improvise.
That's also talent.
that's the only talent I have.
Not the only. I mean, look at all these beautiful artwork you're doing.
Well, these are improvised as well. You know, what can I say? I'm an artist that, you know, can we ever explain how we get our ideas, or they just come to you, you know?
They do.
They're gifts.
I
from-
know. They come to me also, but I don't have the aggressive part.
Well, you have a TV show, so you
Yes.
see, you went out and set yourself up so you have a TV show.
Right.
So that was being aggressive too. And, you know, I've been a self-employed businessman my whole life. So I always
I
wanted to get
hear you.
the contracts. I would go to people's homes or businesses
You
and
do.
try to walk out with a check and sell them on me, where they know I'm going to do a perfect job and they're going to be happy and I'm responsible. I will get the job done. And basically my father instilled responsibility in me my whole life, because, you know, I was kind of like a surf bum growing up, you know. So, but, you know, once I started business, I'm relentless to finish all my contracts, get everything completed. I finish all my sculptures. I don't leave jobs hanging, because I like to close the deal. You know what I mean?
That is very conscientious. It is. And
Well, I never wanted
responsible.
my dad to ever say, "I told you so." You know, it's as simple as that. The competition between men over, you know, because he wanted me to have a job my whole life, and I wanted to have a business my whole life. And I'm an entrepreneur at heart, and that's the great thing about America, and New York especially, that if you're good at something, there's enough people around to have clients forever. It's a great place.
Right.
It's a
Right.
great place.
Many people should hear what you're saying.
I hope they do.
So the place where I met you, that was also an art exhibit. How did you hear about that exhibit?
My friend Joan Kraske
yes.
is a member of the, I'm not sure what the temple or church,
Yes.
center, the Jewish Center, and
Yes.
East Hampton Jewish Center. And she said, "Oh, we're having a show, you should be part of it." And I said, "Sure, sounds good." And I paid my entry fee, and they accepted my pieces and gave me a good location, and it was a wonderful show. The same weekend, I was doing the Art Market Hamptons show. So I was doing that show in the daytime and doing that show in the nighttime.
So
it
that was
I
a lot of,
a busy man.
yes. Did you sell anything?
Yes, I did. It was a terrific show.
I know Joan, she's a good friend of mine.
Yes, very sweet lady.
Yeah, she has some beautiful art.
Yes, she's very talented too.
Right.
Yeah, I got to see her home and studio, and it's a great place.
So you have anything new in the future that you're planning on? You said you're working on several pieces.
Well, I'm doing designs for a giant company that owns 450 apartment buildings around the country. And I'm going to be doing some sculptures for their buildings. It's a new development, which is, you know, from somebody I met 20 years ago at a show in New York City.
So, but they're going to put your
My
work,
sculptures in their buildings, in their courtyards.
in the courtyard.
And in the Trump buildings, probably in the lobbies in Manhattan.
Right.
And then I just got another call from a dealer of mine in Cedarhurst in the Five Towns. And I'm designing two different projects, two different clients for him. And so I got real busy again.
Yeah, you said that he has like 400 buildings, you said? So that means you're going to have to make 400 pieces?
We'll see. I hope.
Do you have help to do that?
When I need to gear up, yes, I have people I can
Or
hire.
can you duplicate your work?
I try not to, but I always try to push for a new creation, so every building is unique,
Oh, so it's going to be all different.
hopefully, yes.
Oh, I thought it's going
I
to be...
brought 5 different pieces into Manhattan on Thursday for 3 different buildings, and I'm designed different pieces for buildings in Alexandria, Virginia, and different pieces for buildings in San Jose, California, all for the same company.
So how do you take it? You ship it over there?
When the time comes, we figure that out. If it's within
Put it
driving
on your
range,
back.
I hook up the trailer on my truck
Yeah.
and I drive there. And that way
Oh,
I
you
can
drive.
supervise installation and not have to worry about other people handling my work. And I actually like to do all that and be there and take all the final
Wow,
shots.
so it's really personal.
Because to me, it's exciting, you know.
Yes. Well, you are a really extremely talented person. And I'm just amazed at all this unique, beautiful work. So what did you say the name of this was?
This one is the Silver Curvation.
Silver Curvation.
It's silver. And
it's
the
curvation, yeah.
I have a series of the goal for me is to try to make the most curvy thing I can out of flat metal. Because the metal comes from the scrap yards or the mills flat. So I try to make it as three-dimensional.
It's like a commercial. Hey, Dad, what is she going to do with all that scrap metal?
Sell it to Steve.
Yeah.
He turns it into art.
Oh, my gosh. And it's so beautifully done here with all the shades. It looks like a ripple effect.
That's how I amuse myself.
And it's,
I try to think of new things to do every single day. It's a challenge. That's what's so fun about my life.
Tell you how much I enjoyed this show with you. You're showing me things I never knew before. And I just want to thank everybody who made this show possible. And of course, Lupita did my hair.
Looks marvelous.
And Bill Miller and Stuart Seafood, Judy Sleed, that's my daughter. Donald Scott, the Seafood Shop, Paul Brenner, and Irv Ackerman. All these people helped me to put this show on. And we're going to sign off. And of course, the staff here at LTV.
Thanks to everybody for their help, and
Yeah,
it's a pleasure to see you again.
it is wonderful. So
Oh,
we have,
thanks to Judy.
well, I wish you would have told me you're going to do that. I would have given you time.
That's all right.
Well, we got it in at
My
the
pleasure,
very
hon.
end. Okay.
No matter